Q&A. Hi.
Hi. We are just getting set up to make sure we can see your questions if they come in. So I just wanted to say, hey, it's hopefully a lunch break. We're going to make this one a quick one. It's kind of a fun one. I'm Beth Nordowny from the Nordowny team, and this is Carl Rogers on the Nordowny team. And we are just here today to talk about, is it possible to buy a home without ever being here or coming to Rochester, or just what does that look like? I think that in this day and age with technology, we have people who buy cars online, personal items, property, and there's a lot of blogs and real estate posts that talk about the day that will come where you'll get these goggles that you'll look through and look at houses that way and maybe possibly never see the house in real life. And this at some, capacity we're even seeing this today with people. So Carl here is our specialist in this area. This is something that he has a lot of experience with, helping people with buying a home and not possibly seeing it or being here physically to walk through it. So first, I just thought it'd be great to talk about or ask Carl, when somebody would maybe want to or choose to do this.
So it's a common thing here in Rochester that we do see people relocating for different jobs that they've accepted. As many of you are probably aware, Mayo Clinic has a very prominent employment here in Rochester. So we get a lot of out-of-town buyers. We've even had one in the past couple of months from overseas as well. Mm-hmm. So it does happen. It's very a little bit more active in the springtime here, but it's not uncommon to see all throughout the year here in Rochester.
Okay, so I know that you've helped people, with houses that are personal homes that they're coming here, like you said, relocating, and they're looking for a house that they're going to live in. Mm-hmm. And you're also seeing people that are buying houses from afar for investment, right?
Correct. That's true.
So is there any other time that you see this happen, or are those kind of the two key people that would be doing this?
I think investors and relocation clients are probably the two main options. Yep.
Okay. Great. So one of the things that's interesting is I've shared with Carl, this is something that I haven't done as much. Like I said, Carl's the guy that's really had the most experience in doing this. So how often would you say that this scenario does happen?
I'd say in the past year, I've had probably about a half dozen, give or take, 6.
So, yeah.
Give or take, excuse me. So again, it's usually common in the springtime, but it has happened in the latter part of the year too.
And would you say that this is something that you see increasing every year, like more and more people are choosing to do this, or is it kind of always been about that number?
It has increased, and this year is as well. And I think, with news of Destination Medical Center coming in Rochester, we've had a lot of investor clients looking into this as well from all over the nation. So, yeah. Yeah,
you have one person that I know is an investor client that has bought how many houses here now?
Just closed on her second
one. So, but yeah, and intending to do possibly more. Mm-hmm. Yep. And has the person been here?
They have not.
Never been. But in buying them for investment, just like Carl said, with the Destination Medical Center and just the strong economy and growth that the city will have, just choosing to buy into a investment property, be part of their strategy or their portfolio. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so let's just take maybe the two different scenarios. I know maybe you can talk just slightly, we'll talk about investment, but maybe first we'll talk about when someone's buying a personal home. So one thing that, Carl and I talked about that we wanted to share with you was it kind of happens two different ways, right? So one way is where maybe a buyer or a family comes, they're here for a weekend, they're coming to relocate, they're here for a home shopping trip. They look at what's available. I know this year in particular, we have such a low inventory that they find that the houses are mostly sold or they don't find exactly what they want. So let's walk through that scenario. So they come here and then they leave, and then what happens?
So a lot of people do come for a weekend, and like Beth was saying, with our low inventory, sometimes they can prepare their trip from a list of 15 homes, and when they actually get here, it might be slimmed down to 3 to 5 just because of how active our market is right now. So if in the event that does happen where they do come in the weekend and they don't secure a property, we've had the chance then to meet in person and to see how myself and other people on the team approach showing homes, in that we really do our best to point out what could be big ticket items for potential buyers down the road. So of course, roof, windows, siding, mechanicals, things like that inside. So, and then after they leave town, I've always been a big fan of technology and harnessing the power of what we can do with the technologies these days. So we keep in touch over the coming weeks. And if there's ever any homes that come on the market that they would like to see in person, I set up a showing myself and go there either with a camera or my phone. We can do either a live broadcast through like a FaceTime call or a Skype call, or I very commonly record a video to send to YouTube and share the link that way too.
Yeah, that's one of the things why I think what makes one of the reasons Carl's so great at this is his love of technology and just being able to go to the house and, like I said, pretty much do showing as close to as if they were here, like you said, whether it's live or a video link. But I've watched some because I've actually been lucky enough that he's done one of these for somebody that's out of town, and then I have somebody interested, and I've sent the video and watched them, and it's really detailed, like as far as looking at the exterior, the siding, the roof, the mechanicals, like walking through the house, what it feels like, and making comments about the area. So I think driving down the street, what it's like getting there, and so I've had the pleasure to watch a couple, and I think it's pretty awesome. So, okay, so it sounds like they come, they don't find something. Probably a positive to that is that you have a pretty good feeling of what they're looking for.
Correct.
And you've had a chance to be with them. So then again, that I think is one of the more easy scenarios, would you say, to do not buying one? Yeah. So then it's like, then you would, like you said, that they watch it online, and when one comes up, or if you see something you think is a good fit, then you would go, like you said, and do this showing.
Yep.
And then what happens like at that point? So if it's one that they like, what would they do?
So if it's one they like, of course, pictures online are going to show all the great things. So the whole purpose behind the video is to really get in there, get a feel of the flow of the home, and point out the big ticket things. If they do like the property from the video or the kind of virtual showing, we'll just proceed with next steps as if they were here in town, take a real close look at disclosure statements, and then possibly put together an offer.
That's awesome. And so the other one scenario is where, like we were talking about, the investor client that never even come to Rochester. They don't do the home shopping trip. Maybe the person that you're talking about that was overseas, they probably didn't come here. Is that correct?
Correct.
So in that case, what does that look like? How does that work?
So kind of in concept, the same idea, virtual tours. That investor happens to have someone close by, so he was kind of the feet on the ground as well to help see some of the homes we were viewing in person as well. So again, kind of same concept with the videos and sharing the links, and then they actually kind of get to see it themselves.
Okay, so I would imagine that in either case, there must be like an incredible trust level that has to happen in the agent to feel confident that when I show up that day with this house that I bought that I never walked through, that I'm going to be happy with the choice that I made. So I'm sure that I would imagine there's a lot of trust. And I know this, so I'm going to say this, but and I want to say, I think why, I know Carl talked about it a little bit, so I'll let him share, but why that trust level is important. So I know that, like, it sounds like what you said, the amount of details that go into it, the things that are provided to the client to just feel like they have a good understanding of the house, the disclosures, the neighborhood, like just everything that they could. And I think the other thing is then, like lose my train of thought, is also, like you made a comment about sometimes when you start out with people, they're calling the listing agent. So right. Kind of talk through the difference between what you're doing and thinking that that's a good way to buy a house.
I think it is a common misconception that people have out there that it's either a good idea, or two, they could possibly get some kind of discount calling the listing agent directly. I think in the years past, that was probably the way things happened, where people would just do that. But I think it was the mid-90s where buyer's agents were born, and people realized that it's kind of a conflict of interest to be calling someone who's legally bound to represent sellers and get the most money possible. So it is really important, and trust is a huge thing in selecting a qualified and experienced agent to work on your best interest as a buyer. So,
and I would imagine that would get exhausting, calling every house and like who's representing them, to somehow get extra information and going off of pictures and to do it that way would just be scarier than like you said, than having where somebody understands essentially what they're looking for. You've seen multiple houses with them online, all virtually, of course, but yet that in the end they have a better sense, and you do, of the whole situation versus each time this is happening.
Right.
Okay, so we're just gonna one more time, just so that you would have an understanding. Let's just walk through the process and just typically tell me what it looks like, just big picture overview again.
So I think, again, the reason that this is an option right now in our market is because things are selling so fast. So timing is kind of the crucial thing there. So, when a home comes on the market that there's interest in, we'd like to see, if someone's out of town, they can't book a plane ticket every single time and come. So I would just, again, go set up a showing myself, and usually, like you said, kind of get a feel of the neighborhood and kind of start the video from not necessarily right on the front step, but as we're kind of driving in and looking up and down the street, things like that, just kind of going through the home as, again, a kind of a virtual tour, really as if they were right by my side in person. So we do that. And then if it's live, then there's no need to share a link, but then I come right back to the office, upload that video to YouTube and send the link that way. The YouTube link is uploaded as unlisted, so it's not it's not a public video. It's private for just those folks. Then they take a look at it and just kind of let me know if there's any follow-up questions, and then go from there. If they're interested, we can pull some comps and see what might be a good offer amount, and then proceed as if they were just here in person.
Yeah. So I just kind of laughed a little bit because I was watching, and it's like a old karate video where the audio was trailing right behind. Like, that's why I was like, oh geez. So okay, that sounds awesome. And like I said, I know that it's I don't want to say it's simple, and I hope we're not simplifying the process at all. We just want you to know that it is possible, that it is an option. And I think that wanting to know more information, details, the depth of kind of what goes into it is, beyond a webinar, but just it's kind of a cool thing that I think that I know everyone talks about it in the future, but in reality, it's happening even now in some capacity, and it is definitely a possibility. So a couple questions that I kind of asked some people in preparing for this that kind of came up, and then we'll see if you have any questions before we close out. But one of the things is how do people know, like when they come here, I know you're looking at the houses, have they done more research, or how do they know about the community or the neighborhood or schools, or just since they haven't been in Rochester?
So I was born in Rochester, and usually give people kind of a decent idea on history and growth, and share a couple links online that people can kind of take a look at the history of maybe where, I guess Rochester in general is a very safe town, but where any of the busier parts of town might be. So we provide that information through online, links, and again, just kind of experience of how I've seen the town grow and over the course of the years. So.
And how about, I guess that's kind of it. Is there anything that you usually get for questions, or usually that people ask you before they make a choice in doing this?
I think it all depends on kind of their level of familiarity with Rochester. If they've lived here before, if they've just visited once, or if they have no idea and all they can see is, a map with Highway 52 coming right through town, and Broadway heading north and south. And so it is, again, important just to sometimes just kind of get a feel for the different neighborhoods, and sometimes people will take a map and just kind of take notes themselves on the names of the neighborhoods and what kind of quadrant of Rochester they feel that they were attracted to most. So I've done that as well, where just kind of driving around town and talking to people, and on the phone, just almost really again as if they're kind of right there with
Yeah.
me in person. So
Yeah, we had a conversation about that, like, and we talk about that a lot when we're selling houses on the team, is that lifestyle story. And I think that there's a lot of talk about that in the real estate community, where it really comes down to what's it like to live there. And I think that what you're alluding to when people map out neighborhoods or areas is it close to shopping? Is it close to the schools? Is it close to like where I work? Can I walk there? Can I bike there? And that's really, I think, more what's driving people's decision today, sometimes than the house. I mean, the house has to work, but that's what people are wanting to know is like, or what they're buying into is what it's like to live in that area.
right.
Yeah. So again, just a brief overview of what this looks like. I think that it's exciting. It's an exciting option that we have here on the team that Carl is experienced in, and is probably an expert as far as even in Rochester and doing something like this. So if it's something that you have ever thought it wasn't possible but wanted to, or know of somebody else, definitely we would love to have you call, text, email. We'll get you in touch with Carl and just kind of have that experience. And again, I'm sure people relocating even before they come could do this almost on the prelim, like getting an idea of kind of Rochester, so that when they do come here, they feel like they know a little bit about it, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So cool. So it's 12:16, and this was a 20-minute webinar, just a quick one today. We're gonna maybe just see if there's any questions that come in for the next couple minutes, and otherwise we'll call it a day.
Looks like you may
I don't know if this is a question. No, I don't know.
I think you may have activated Hey Siri and we're talking to your phone.
Hey
there.
Siri, and then I just got like the last, I was like, what is that? Is that a question? I'm like, that's kind of crazy. So again, we'll wait for another minute. Do you have anything? Did you think of something?
No, there's a question here.
How do I handle, signing a that's a great question. So you said someone's gonna make an offer, and then how would you sign it, or do you fax it?
No.
Mail it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Minnesota is okay with electronic signatures. So there's some really cool stories that we have, with that, both with, people who haven't been in town just buying, but, it's, say someone does come to town, they write an offer in person, there's a little bit of negotiations and they have to head back home. If you get like a counter offer that needs final signatures, we can just send that for signatures electronically. So again, I've had a couple stories even maybe of clients here in Rochester that one was a couple that were just getting married and they offered on a home and then went on their honeymoon, so they officially bought their house from Mexico. So kind of the same idea in concept. Electronic signatures make that possible. Yeah,
I've had that honeymoon story numerous times, like on a cruise, on a whatever. And what's really cool too is even with the phones today, you can do it all from right here. I'm at work, it's whatever time at night, I'm in bed, and go ahead and signing the contract, reviewing it, looking it over, and it all can be done from the phone. So there's just one thing that probably maybe can't be done from the phone, and it is in the next question. When you buy a home, there's earnest money that needs to go down, but on the home, but how do you pay that?
So yeah, on the earnest money receipt, we just ask that you prepare a check and give us the check number, and then it's really only required to be turned in, 2 to 3 business days after an accepted offer. So then, depending on kind of where we're at in the week, we either suggest you overnight it, wire it, or just put it in the mail. Yep.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we've had more. This is not with this topic, but it's an interesting question where more and more people don't have a checkbook anymore. But like I've had people, go to a gas station, Quick Trip, Walmart, wherever, get a cashier's check, go to the bank, get a money order, fax it, or not fax it, send it in, mail it in. But that is kind of interesting. But like Carl said, it's now, I think that the state of Minnesota, people recognize that this scenario happens. So that's why there's that lag time now where we just have to get it turned in. We can go ahead and present the offer, knowing with the intent that the money's on the way. So
that's a good question.
Yeah. So we'll just wait. It's 12:20. So again, we'll just end this today. We look forward to next month. We have a live webinar, or a live, not a web. You can't be a live webinar We actually have a live event, and I'm just going to get the date for you here. It is, oops, I lost my calendar. Well, I'm not going to waste anybody's precious time while I search it. I should have had it pulled up. I think I did this last time too, but we'll go ahead and post with this when our live next
event.
Thank you. I'm like, it's not a webinar. It's going to be. So thank you so much for watching, or even if you're watching this on the post show. And again, if you have any questions or there's anything we can do. Oh, I'm sorry. May 3rd. May 3rd at People's Co-op in their community room is when we're going to be live, but watch for details on that as well. Thank you and have a great day or great weekend.
Thank you.